Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed on our webpage, there are links to our Facebook page, links to our Boomer's General Store, places you can hear our podcast. There's great pictures of that country up in north central Colorado, Rocky Mountains, and also the country around here in northeastern Kansas. Speaking of northeastern Kansas, the other day I was out trimming up some trees, and there's two things I've never bought that I wish I had when I was younger and had better cash flow. One is a tractor that has a bucket on it. My old Alice Chalmers tractor is a good old tractor, but it does not have a bucket, and there's times that I wish I did have a bucket. Pick up things like gravel, whatever. The other thing is a pole saw. That's a chainsaw. It's attached to at least a 10-foot pole, sometimes up to 14 foot. And I have 3 chainsaws around here, but none of them are pole saws. And so I can't reach very high to get to some of these limbs that I'm trying to trim up. When I was younger, I'd pull my pickup truck up underneath the limb and have an 8-foot ladder in the back of the truck and climb up on that and cut the limb off. One time, though, a tree limb did hit me in the head, and you just can't really get out of the way when you're up on a step ladder, especially if it's in the back of your pickup truck. Well, the other day, I went out there with that 8-foot step ladder, the same ladder, and I just put it on the ground, and I told myself, now I will not go up more than 2 steps on the ladder. That'll give me, maybe about 3 foot more that I could reach some of these taller limbs. These limbs, just because they're 9 feet up in the air, doesn't mean they don't slough down where you can't mow under them, walk under them, drive your truck under them, whatever. So I got up there 2 steps up and cut this one limb. It was probably 5 inches in diameter. Not huge, but not small. And sucker fell down. I was feeling all proud of myself for about a nanosecond. The branches of that limb hit the ground and kicked it back at me, knocked me off the ladder with my running chainsaw, right? So I fell down, and I kind of threw the saw out of the way a little bit, and I hit and I rolled, and I realized I rolled right into some poison ivy on the trunk of the tree, but I don't think it grazed my skin. But I laid there for a while until I realized that I was not injured. Now, my wife is some kind of mama bear that always watches me, like, what's she going to do, catch me if I fall off the ladder? But anyway, she didn't come running out all freaked out or anything, so she must not have seen me. I told her I was going to go out and trim some trees, and she always watches, or tries to, but it seems like when anything happens, she's not there. So I don't know how closely she watches, and it's not a big deal. I don't need a nursemaid, usually. So I fell off my ladder, and I got back up, and I started trimming trees again. I had another big one, and that branch sloughed down and caught my chainsaw bar in it, and I couldn't get the chainsaw free, and I had to leave it dangling up there in the air and go back to the garage and get a D-ring saw and saw that branch by hand so I could free my chainsaw, and I had to hold the saw while I was cutting it, or else, if it fell, that saw would fall, 9 feet or something? I didn't want that. Well, it's been pretty green around here. Since the 1st of April, we've had over 18 inches of rain. So April, May, June, July, 4 months, we've had 18 inches of rain. But we've hardly had any rain the last 3 weeks. Usually we dry out a whole lot midsummer, and maybe that's what's happening now. But it's still emerald green around here, and it's really pretty. Grass is still growing like crazy. We had one of my daughters and her family came from Colorado and stayed a week with us. So I didn't mow the grass for 2 weeks. and it was long. I spent the day yesterday mowing grass. We do have a lot of water around here. When we dug our basement, the next day, come back and the hole was totally full of water. So we knew we had a bunch of underground springs. So I consulted with some engineers and all this stuff. And what we did is before we poured the basement floor and after we poured the walls to the basement, we put in this perforated pipe. It just was everywhere. I just made a regular rat's maze out of this pipe in the basement floor, and it is designed to head the water out, and it daylights out there about halfway between the house and the pond. There's a spot that's always wet, these underground springs. I also put 2 layers of that pipe on the outside foundation before we poured gravel around the foundation. And you know, I've never had 1 drop of water in that basement. It is the driest basement in the world. But if I wouldn't have known to do that with the perforated pipe, I'd have really had some problems, I do believe. So don't get in a hurry when you do stuff. Make sure that you ask questions and you do it right. What do they say? Measure twice and cut once. Anyway, I do like this place out here. We have 25 acres, and it's turned into a lot of work for a 70-year-old fart. It has. I don't know how I used to work my career and then come home and take care of all this, but I did for years and years. But anyway, I still have to do all this. So we've been talking about maybe subdividing our property. We have 25 acres, and we spend all of our time, 100%, maybe 99.9% of our time, on the east half of this property. So I've been thinking about subdividing and selling half of the property, the west part of it. So I don't know if it'll happen. It's so beautiful around here, though. I've been seeing a lot of deer lately, but this morning, my office window, right in front of my window is our porch. The porch wraps around, and it's 8 feet wide. And then we have some bushes and stuff, you know, before you see the grass. And right there, right by my window, 9 feet away or something, comes this bobcat. And he's just walking by. So, whoa, and I get my shoes on. I didn't want to startle him. He was headed to the east. So I opened the front door because I knew if I went through the garage, he'd hear me there. And I saw him just as he was getting ready to leave my property, walk through the fence, and enter the farmer's field, which is soybeans this year. And he walked in that bean field, and that's the last I saw of him. The beans were just tall enough that they concealed him. What an amazing thing, a bobcat. Have you ever seen one of those up close? Closest I ever saw one was one time one ran in front of my truck about a mile from my house on this gravel dirt road. But this guy was right there. I mean, he was right there. I saw all of his markings. He kind of looked right at me. He didn't see me, obviously. His little short tail. I was surprised how small he was. I knew what he was immediately, though. We had a mountain lion here one time. Nature's an amazing thing. I'm glad I got to see a bobcat instead of bunnies and squirrels. That's all I see around here half the time because my dogs are gone now. But I've been seeing a lot of deer, like I said. Now for the top 10 55 years ago. That's the top 10 popular songs this week in 1969. Number 10, The Ballad of John and Yoko, The Beatles. Number 9 by Andy Kim, Baby, I Love You. Number 8 by the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Women. Number 7, Sweet Caroline, Good Times Never Seem So Good, Neil Diamond. Number 6, Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town, Kenny Rogers in the first edition. Number 5, What Does It Take to Win Your Love, Junior Walker and the All-Stars. Number 4 by Stevie Wonder, My Cherie Amour. Number 3, Spinning Wheel by Blood, Sweat and Tears. Number 2, Crystal Blue Persuasion, Tommy James and the Shondells. And the number 1 song, this is the 4th week in a row it's been number 1. It'll be number 1 for 6 weeks total in the year 2525. Zager and Evans. They should have made a song in the year 2024. It might have not been quite as futuristic, but 1969, I don't think we could have imagined some of that stuff that goes on around here. We don't have the Munchies today doing housekeeping, and that is because had the Munchie got all 3 of them in trouble. He kind of commandeered this segment without me being aware that he was doing it until right when he was done. That little turkey. Well, he's not a turkey. You know what they are, Munchies. More like a cornflake. I'm looking at them right now. They're pouting over there. They like to be on the show. Anyway, my all-time favorite music songs 2 weeks ago. If you like to listen to this podcast on YouTube, you'll notice that it was not there. They said that I had a copyright issue and they would not publish it. I have no idea. I am very, very careful about copyright. I try to give credit and et cetera, or get permission. Or basically, I buy licenses just to put this stuff out. So it must have been a lyric to a song, because once in a while I'll say a line from a song. And I did a lot of that on that episode because I was talking about 29 songs and why I liked them. So someone got their nose out of joint about that, and if only they knew that I was plugging their song. I'm sure a robot canceled it, and YouTube, I couldn't just email them and say, what's going on? I tried that. You can't do it. You cannot contact them any way electronically. They have 2 choices to contact them with an issue. One, you can write them a letter somewhere in New York City, and the other is you can fax them. Fax? I guess I could do a fax on my computer. I mean, I've got a scanner. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, so we just don't have it there. Sorry. Hopefully all these others have passed muster, or else there's some kind of a glitch in the system. But I tried it twice. My podcast host put it on like they do every Wednesday morning. I got an email saying it didn't work. So I tried it once just to redo it. I didn't do it. So I tried another way, thinking that the reason that was going on was, if you remember a couple weeks ago, the internet was down, all the airplane flights were canceled, and a lot of things were happening throughout the world because some server somewhere crashed. So I thought maybe that was it, but it still didn't work, so that's that. Did I do okay, Munchies?
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't just keep them from not being on at all. In the 1960s, we were all frustrated about our elders running things. Remember? We were uptight about the Vietnam War, about Nixon, about the man, about corporate America. We're all about peace and love and anti-war and all of that stuff, and we thought we knew everything. I was right in the middle of it. I'm not putting it down, because we were young and dumb more than anything, but we thought we knew everything about everything, and we made a lot of ruckus, and we're very visible with long hair and psychedelic cars and sit-ins and peace rallies and Woodstock and all that stuff. A lot of good memories from those days. I understand that. But it wasn't 10 years, 15 years later, we were doctors and lawyers and CEOs of corporations. We were starting to push middle age, turning 40 and having families and haircuts and wearing suits. Suits? didn't we used to say something about men in suits? And next thing you know, we were running things. We were the boss instead of working for someone. We were running for office. We were writing prescriptions and teaching kids in school and having children and families and buying houses and financing our cars and all this stuff that we did. And we ran things for quite a while. But I dare say in the last 10 years that table has pretty much turned, and most of us don't work unless we have to, and our children are running things today. They're owners of businesses. They're the doctors and the teachers and the lawyers. For crying out loud, college kids look like little kids to me. My 2 kids are both business owners. The oldest one has a very successful advertising agency. I don't think that's what she calls it, though. My youngest one was kind of forced into opening her own business, but that's okay. She's her own boss now and has incorporated and all that stuff. I started to notice a lot of this stuff when I was in my later 50s and early 60s. A lot of places, you go somewhere and some kid's the boss. That was happening for quite a while with like fast food stuff and things like that. But now all of a sudden, people there really could be my grandkids, that age, are managing fast food and whatever. I am totally amazed. What amazes me and kind of breaks my heart and makes me admire them and so many range of emotions up and down are when you see an older person working. And it's not, the big boss of some outfit. Some guy just trying to make it. A lot of times some woman trying to make it. And they're at least pushing 70. Still standing on those concrete floors and working. Maybe checking you out somewhere. I don't know. It just makes me wonder. And yet I think that those people are some of the strongest people I've ever known. Well, if you have to get ready for work after you listen to this podcast, God bless you, man. Wherever you are in life, thank your lucky stars. There's a lot of us that have come before that weren't so fortunate. Wake up each morning with a grateful heart and always, always be kind. Thanks for riding along today. Look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Peace out.